From outside the charred remains of a 3D technology warehouse, it's the IGN Digigods. So take off your thinking caps and please welcome two suspected arsonists, Mark Kaiser and Wade Major.
All right, we are recycling, so we've got until the end of the month, people. End of the month. Get your cool new intros in by the end of the month at gods@digigods.com, and then we'll record them with Corey and make you all famous. Plug anything you want. You got a website, you got a business, you got a plumbing supply company, whatever it is that you want to plug. Go ahead and plug it. Plug it. We'll plug it for you with your intro.
A plumbing supply company.
Send us Vox boxes, send us emails, go to the Facebook page, participate in the, what did we say last week happened on the Facebook page? We cured cancer? Is that what I said?
Yes.
Yes, then we cured cancer. We did. It's the latest discussion on the Facebook page. We didn't get around to any listener mail last week. We ran out of time because we spent too much, I guess, on the... and Mark's taking calls during the show again.
I'm letting it go. I had no idea it was so popular.
Oh, jeez.
I'm letting it go to voicemail.
All right, fine. Anyway, Mark, why don't we just jump right in, because I want to get to listener mail. Let's cover some television and then we'll do listener mail. Shall we do that?
Fine, wait.
Good.
Okay, a couple years ago there was a film by a director and writer named Armando Iannucci.
Yeah.
And this film was called
Star Wars.
No, it wasn't. That's crazy.
I know that's your joke.
It was called In the Loop.
It.
In the Loop was an absolutely unbelievably hilarious, profane, brilliant, pointed, satirical take on politics, mostly British politics, although obviously there's America involved because America is involved in all politics in the world. But In the Loop was unbelievably, awesomely, brilliantly, satirically hilarious, and I demand that our listeners stream or rent In the Loop. But anyway, what I'm saying is that Iannucci, his new creation is much more Americanized. It's called Veep. And on Blu-ray is the first season of Veep, which aired as an original HBO series. This stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus as the, vice president, a female vice president, and all the crazy stuff that happens from that. Now, I think the show is pretty funny. I think that, I don't know that it has all the pointed satire that In the Loop had. I mean, In the Loop was just like vanilla extract. Just like extracted brilliance and satire in like an hour and 45 minutes. This one has like an entire season arc it has to worry about. So it really kind of spreads the venom across, X number of episodes. So it's not quite as pointed, but I still kind of like this show. I think it's pretty good. Bonus features include behind the scenes, a making of, a funny public service announcement, some deleted scenes and outtakes, audio commentaries with the cast and crew. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she's a kind of lightweight. Here's the thing with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She's kind of lightweight for this material. Yeah. I was not the hugest fan of hers. I don't feel she has a lot of depth to her acting, and she still seems very sitcom to me. But I think she's fine in this. I wish it was somebody better. Somebody maybe like a kind of a. I'd rather have for this role. I'd rather have a movie star coming down to HBO than a TV star going up to than a TV sitcom actress going up to HBO.
Sure.
But that being said, she's what we have, and she did win an Emmy for it. So what the hell do I know? But I like this. I like the show. Veep, V-E-E-P from
nice. HBO. I have to say, one of the things that has happened with television in recent years, largely thanks to HBO and Showtime, is that we're getting all these really cool period series. And yes, Downton Abbey and BBC, that's always been a part of British television, all the legacy stuff, British history. But it's never been kind of part of the television vernacular in the United States. And now with what was the Jonathan Rhys Meyers thing? We played Henry VIII very unconvincingly.
Oh, it was Henry VIII.
Yeah, that thing. Well, the Showtime response to that was the Borgias. And I got to tell you, it's not great, but it's awfully cool. And Jeremy Irons really just he kills it. He does. And if you don't know, The
Tudors.
The Tudors, thank you. The Tudors. Now we have the answer to the Borgias. The Borgias is about that famous family. They call it, the subtitle is the original crime family. And yes, The Godfather for those who don't know, Francis Coppola basically used the Borgias, the Renaissance family of the Borgias, as the basis for the Corleones in Godfather. Now, that's not to say that Mario Puzo did when he wrote the book. That's to say that Francis Coppola did when he made the movie. That's what he was thinking of. So, and you can tell when you watch the movie because The Godfather as a movie is much better than the book for that reason. The Borgias, of course, were just a legendary Renaissance family. I think it was something like 3 or 4 popes came from the Borgia family, and they ruled. They were like the ultimate family. They just controlled Europe.
When it comes to the Pope, I can't believe that the Vatican elected a talking mule as the Pope.
I already made that joke on my Facebook page.
What?
I did. I posted a picture of Francis the talking mule.
Boo.
I said clearly this decision was not well vetted. But apparently the name he's going with is Francisco. So don't say Francis. I mean, if he's Pope Francis, and it was funny on my Facebook page, Luke Thompson, the first thing he posted was that scene.
I knew that was coming. Francis, is it Francis? You touch my stuff?
Yes, it was
from Stripes.
No, not Stripes. No. He posted this scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure where Francis wants to buy Pee-wee's bike. It's not for sale, Francis. It's very everything's for sale, Pee-wee.
No, he goes, lighten it when, and then Francis goes, my name is Francis from Stripes. They call me Psycho. You touch my stuff, I'll kill you.
Yeah, that's.
and then what's his name? The tough guy actor Warren Oates says, lighten up, Francis.
You know what? If somebody out there has enough time, and we don't because we're busy as hell, and I've got a baby. But if somebody out there has enough time, just sit around and dig up all that footage and make a mashup of every Francis line in every movie, and include, please, if you could, some references from Chips where the father of Captain Kirk says Francis to because that's Ponch's original.
You are out of
Francis
your
Poncherello.
GD mind.
I am, aren't I? Captain Kirk's dad. You like that Robert Pine reference to Chris Pine? It's a little thing I just did. I did an equitweeze. You call those equitweezes?
I haven't said that in years.
I know, but I just said it. So there we go. The Borgias, the listeners right now, their minds are sputtering. They're short-circuiting. They have no idea.
No, our minds are sputtering and short-circuiting. That's the problem.
So the Borgias, the original crime family, Showtime. It's good. It's good. It's a little bit soapy, but I'll take it. It's a period show, and I really love it. It's a renaissance on television, and that's cool. And that goes, frankly, for Rome and for Spartacus as well. I love all that stuff. I'm glad I don't love watching all of it, but I'm glad it's there. So there you go. Good stuff. And then let's see. You know what, Mark? I'm going to dig here into the pile. And just to annoy you, because you insist that this is not canon, I'm going to talk about Star Trek Enterprise Season 1 on Blu-ray.
Lame.
Why would you say this is not canon? This is great. It's got the guy from Quantum Leap in it.
I know. You see, it's just horrible.
You know what? This was an interesting idea that didn't.
I didn't mind the idea. I did not. I thought, oh, that's interesting. All right. So when now it's all new, it's fresh, it's a little bit closer to our time. We can maybe get engaged in a fresher way.
Absolutely.
But it didn't happen.
It was an interesting idea, and I still think it is partially interesting. I think it's conceptually partially okay. At least they're trying hard. This is Scott Bakula plays Captain Jonathan Archer. In the one Star Trek series, it was supposed to sort of harken back to the origins of the Federation when we had first discovered Vulcans, and when everything was a little bit rougher, a little bit more raw, and it's sort of the seeds of what would become the original Star Trek series. And so they really do try to pay homage more to the original series in a lot of ways than the other series like Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and all that stuff. So, and Voyager, I like Voyager too. I really do.
Really?
So, yeah, I like Voyager.
There's Star Trek and there's Star Trek The Next Generation. Forget the rest of them.
Nah, Voyager's good. And a lot of people still love Deep Space Nine,
Whatever.
They really do.
With those crazy big guys with the weird teeth, Ferengis or the Kardashians, whatever they're called.
Kardashians.
You know what? The problem is that at that point in the history of the entire franchise, there was just too much Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, stop it.
Well,
you had like overlapping movies with the old cast, and here comes the new cast, and you got Voyager, and you got this. It's like, you know what?
They overdid it. It's going to be a few years before
they actually burned out. They actually kind of burned people out on Star Trek.
They did. There were too many series at once.
And then Nemesis killed the movie series for a while, and now it's been relaunched.
There will be another Star Trek TV series at some point, but it's going to be a while. They got to let the JJ series of movies run its course. So that being said, I think it's fine. I don't think it's horrible, and it's on Blu-ray. It's good transfer. They did a good job. People over at Paramount and CBS, and a few extras. Feature-ready stuff, documentary stuff. It's all behind-the-scenes stuff. Much of it in high def, which is nice. I really appreciated that, especially the To Boldly Go Launching Enterprise doc is all in beautiful high def. So it's nice to get the featurette stuff in high def. Yeah, there it is for fans, for kids. That's a reference to last week when we talked about the Hudsucker Proxy. Get it? For kids. It's a Hudsucker Proxy reference.
Yeah.
For kids.
Yeah.
About the the Frisbee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
God, I haven't played
All
Frisbee in years.
Go.
Wade, there's the Japanese, they're crazy. Those are crazy people. Anyway, in the late 60s, one of those classic tokusatsu shows, which is kind of like what the Japanese call, their superhero shows, it was called Giant Robo. And much like
Johnny Sacco.
And much like Haim Saban did with the Power
Johnny
Rangers.
Sacco.
Stop that. Much like Haim Saban did with the Power Rangers, this guy Ruben Guberman took about 26 episodes of Giant Robo, and he turned them over and dubbed them into English and called them Johnny Sacco and His Flying Robot. And right now on Blu-ray, on DVD, from the good people at Shout, you can actually get 4 discs. 4 discs.
Oh, wow. Freudian slip.
You can get 4 dicks worth of Johnny Sacco and His Flying Robot.
Oh, I wish outtakes. If only that were an outtake.
That's by far the worst one I've ever done. We've done like 300 episodes of this show. That's by far the worst one. I had a terrible one on Stupid for Movies a couple years ago. I had a horrible one on Stupid for Movies. It's pretty funny. Anyway, okay, that was pretty bad. But you notice how I'm not saying stop the recording.
Yes, I hear you.
I'm willing to live with it.
Look,
because I'm that guy.
There are 4 guys named Richard on this show.
That is true.
Yes.
If not, we'll just pretend there are. Anyway, Johnny Sacco and His Flying Robot was recreated from the bones of the Giant Robo show in Japan. And look, you know what you're getting. You're getting just ridiculous rubber monsters like Globar and Ligon and Gengar and Emperor Guillotine. Yeah, Emperor Guillotine. He was awesome. So either you like this stuff or you don't. I mean, the giant robot has, flying missiles that come out of his fingers and this big V on his chest that launches, like this ram that kind of, forces enemies back. It's got a flamethrower. It's cool. It's for kids. And you know what you're getting. It's cheesy. It's low budget. It's ridiculous. But there it is. Johnny, it's total kitsch, by the way. At this point, that's kitsch.
Of all the versions of Les Miserables that have ever been done, the one that I was most kind of fascinated by and perplexed by is this Fox Family Channel production from last year, which I don't, you just got to kind of wonder. They knew that the big musical was coming, which was released last week. And yet they went ahead and did this, and it's such a strange. It's like on the surface you'd think, oh well, this should rock. But then you go, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Gérard Depardieu playing Jean Valjean. You couldn't find anyone less like Hugh Jackman on the planet, and Javert played by John Malkovich, who just plays it totally crazy like he always does. And Cosette played by Virginie Ledoyen, and then you even have Aja Argento showing up in this thing, and Charlotte Gainsbourg shows up in this thing, and it's like a lot of great actors who just seem to have said, yeah, sure, I'll do that for a few days, and it never really takes flight. Jeanne Moreau even shows up, and the most tragic part of all of this is that this also features Guillaume Depardieu, who, of course, is now dead. And I find that all very, very tragic, and it detracted substantially from my ability to actually judge this thing objectively. So, I don't know, it's just an odd, misbegotten, strange adaptation. It's not bad, but if you've seen any of the other adaptations, you just kind of go, I don't know why. It's like you got a lot of great ingredients, and you put them on the stove and didn't really cook them properly, and then it kind of becomes a half-baked stew. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Wade, we talk about the Sci-Fi Channel shows and how they're all from Canada, which
Yeah.
means that when stuff like this that's from Canada is like a little bit like the weird, slightly retarded but well-meaning uncle of like a normal person.
Yeah.
Well, now we have Continuum. Season 1 of Continuum, which is on the Sci-Fi Channel. This show, I skimmed it. I just don't get it. It's one of those future shows. Takes place in like the year 2075, and these terrorists wind up going back in time to 2012 to wreak havoc, and they are followed by a cop from 2075, and she winds up joining the Vancouver police force to help track the terrorists and keep them in line.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Looper.
Got it.
A film, by the way, I loved. Looper. You know what? Don't rent Continuum. Don't think about Continuum. Don't read about Continuum. Go rent Looper.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying about Continuum.
You know, there's a Nickelodeon series called H2O, Just Add Water, and I used to think that Nickelodeon was a network for kids, right? Now we've got this Nickelodeon show which has these like nubile mermaids.
I'm on board.
I'm thinking Nick's skewing a little older, and I realized Nickelodeon has been around long enough for the kids who were 5 and 6 when they were watching it, at least the boys, to now be 15, 16, 17, right?
I think Nickelodeon's been around longer than that, no?
They're trying to, well, certainly longer, but I'm just saying they're realizing that they want to hang on to their original audience. They don't want them migrating over to the CW.
It launched, get this. Okay, I just...
It's like 1994.
No, get this. Interesting. It launched as something called the Pinwheel Network in 1977, and then launched as Nickelodeon in 1979.
You're kidding.
And I think what we consider...
the cable Nickelodeon.
What we consider the Nickelodeon is when MTV bought it.
That's it.
In 1985.
There you go.
Then it became kind of like Nickelodeon.
Well, anyway, these are from the Flatiron Film Company by way of new video, and we've got seasons 1, 2, and 3 of H2O Just Add Water with these. It's sort of like what's the TV show the Bedazzled or with the witches the
CW.
Yeah, not the CW, but the three witches. You know.
Huh.
The show with the three witches, the friggin' cable show, the three.
What the hell are you talking about?
You know, the three actresses that are all. Oh,
I
gosh.
don't. I really have no idea.
Shannon Doherty and. Yeah, that one.
Don't stop the recording.
I know. Anyway, it's
Charmed.
Charmed. Thank you.
That was the WB. Was that on WB?
That was WB, and then it became the CW, and we lose track of all that crap. We got too much in our brains. So anyway, this is like the mermaid version of that, except skewed for tweeners. And I just find the whole thing surprisingly titillating, to be honest. It's a little bit like Saved by the Bell with fins. But, I took a look at a few of these episodes. They seem decent enough. I mean, it's obviously skews very... like, I'd shoot myself if I actually had to write an episode of a show like this, no matter how much money they pay you, because it's very, very cloying. But I guess if you're trying to sort of hang on to your nubile teenage audience and you don't want them migrating to the CW, sure, why not? Mermaids, go for it.
Wade, I have 2 words for you. When it comes to old cable channels... and living in Los Angeles, I have 2 words for you. One of those words.
What are those words?
One of those words only has 1 letter in it. You ready?
Yes.
Z Channel.
Oh, the best. And what a great documentary, too.
Which I saw in Cannes, by the way.
I know. It's a great film.
With Tarantino in attendance along with the director.
There you go. I'm going to talk about a fascinating bit of television right now from a new company, and this is a great new company. I am thrilled that they are there. They are going to be releasing some awesome stuff. You know, a lot of people have heard of Borgen, which is it's this Danish television series. It's been called. It's a little bit. The quote that they use on the packaging from June Thomas of Slate is calling it the Danish West Wing. But it's better than the West Wing. It's an incredible television drama that got into all of the nuts and bolts and the grit of Danish politics. And if you don't think Danish politics is as interesting as anybody else's politics, you're wrong. It is amazing how interesting this is. And it is a gripping show. This is about 10 hours worth on 4 DVDs from Megahertz. That's MHZ Networks. And this is a new company. And this is season 1. And it is just absolutely outstanding. Now, they also claim this is from the producers of The Killing, which I was not aware of. I was not aware that there was any crossover there. But this is a first-rate show. Great acting, really well written, really, really well shot. And it kind of blows you away to realize that this caliber of television can be done in other countries. Because it used to be that it was so expensive to do hour-long drama, to do really good, high-quality drama in other countries, with the exception of the UK, that they just sort of relied on American television. I mean, that's how American television became so preeminent. But now you're getting this first-rate stuff all over, and a lot of really interesting stuff that they're also going to be coming out from Megahertz. The original Wallander, which has been redone in English before, and a lot of other interesting titles. So MHZ, which is a Washington, D.C. based company, is they're coming out big with Borgen. And Season 1, I cannot wait for Season 2. It's really, really cool. Looking forward to it. Also looking forward to something that they're plugging here, the Young Montalbano, which is some kind of a detective show with a guy who looks, he's got that real kind of Euro dude look, right?
Douche. Yeah, we call it douche. We call it douchebag.
So anyway, Borgen
for short.
Borgen Season 1, some of the best political television you're ever going to see from a great new company. So looking forward to more stuff from them. Mark, shall we do listener mail? No, listener mail.
Oh, I don't have a song for that.
I know you don't. But I'm just going to read some.
Because we didn't get to the mail last week.
Didn't get to the mail last week.
Fault.
Yeah, it's all my fault. I'm a bad dude. What can I say? I'm a bad dude.
You is.
From Walter Gass, a couple of things. Love J.J. Abrams. Think he's a great director. Mission Impossible 3 was a great movie, and his take on Star Trek was excellent fun. Not to mention that the pilot of Lost was one of the best pilots of the last 10 years. Also, the whole Star Wars hate Star Trek fan things is old thinking. Everyone I know likes both, and it's not an either-or proposition. I think J.J. will make a great Star Wars movie, certainly better than the last 3 we got.
I will say that J.J. will make a better Star Wars film than the 3 that Lucas made.
My wife was reading something yesterday. It was like some online joke that Michael Haneke was going to direct Star Wars 7. Did you hear this? It's very strange.
It's obvious.
It'd be cool, though.
Obvious joke.
Yeah. And Jared Crowley from Dublin, Ireland. Gare. I love it. Gare. I would try to do that with. I'd try to do that with my Irish accent, but my forebears, my grandfather McAtee would come down and haunt me. He says, Disney been releasing some good catalog titles lately with varying degrees of quality, and that's got my hopes up for Quiz Show. Maybe they'll get it right if they do put it out on Blu-ray. Here's hoping. By the way, I listened to your review of Flight on the podcast and wonder what you thought of the opening scene. There's as much nudity in that single scene as there is in all of Killer Joe. It even gives Shame a run for its money. I was not expecting that in a Robert Zemeckis film, and it felt very out of place, almost to the point of distraction. What did you guys think?
Well, here's the thing is that you can't really look at it in terms of who's directing it. You got to look at it in terms of what we need to know about the character at that time. And what we need to know about the character at that time is that he sleeps with his coworkers who run around naked and he does coke, and that's the character.
Yeah.
So they're setting up what this character is all about.
I am glad that Zemeckis stretched and went in that direction, and I hold out hope that maybe this motion capture thing is done now that all went bust and belly up, and that he sticks with this.
I agree. It was great to see him back.
Yeah. Kyle Stevens. Okay, here's a question for you. We Americans always get a rap for being ultra-violent and gratuitous, yet I saw the original European version of Taken starring Liam Neeson, which is way more violent than the U.S. Scenes like the electrocution torture and the shooting the French agent's wife were edited down. In the Euro version, you see the tortured guy shaking and writhing with sweat spurting all over. The U.S. version had that cut. Truth be told, in the larger scheme, in all its points. That being said, if I saw the U.S. version first, I would have had a much lower opinion of the film. The impact of revenge is diminished. Why did they cut it down, especially if Americans are so brutal and violent? The answer, frankly, is because they had to get a PG-13. And that's it. It's cut down. The PG-13, I said this years ago when the PG-13 happened. It's going to be a bad thing because everyone is going to start taking their R-rated movies and they're going to just whittle them down just enough to squeeze into that PG-13. So you're going to carve out the lower end of R rather than carving out the higher end of PG. And really what's happened, when was the last time a movie rated PG came out? PG-13 has literally displaced PG. So we don't have PG movies anymore. We have G, which are usually animated, and then we have PG-13 movies, and then we have R-rated movies. So now it's pretty much everything is R. It's just a softer R. I think it's a bad move, and that's the reason. Otherwise, it would have been R. If we still had PG and R, and they knew there was no chance of ever squeezing that movie into a PG-13 rating, it would be R. It would be the original version. What chance do you? This is from Eric Altieri. What chance do you think there is of Warner Brothers releasing a mega box set of all the Super Friends cartoons? That I would love to have. Zonkers, Wendy. That's my best Marvin impression. You like that, Mark?
There was
Zonkers, Wendy.
We know nothing about that right now.
Let's call her Super Friends.
There was a funny Family Guy bit, a show that you don't seem to like, even though you love it, called, they did a bit called The Mexican Super Friends.
Oh.
I can't tell you what it's like, because you don't deserve to know. Because you don't like
that
it.
is actually kind of funny.
Well, but you don't know what the gag is. I won't tell you the gag, because you don't get to know.
Fine.
Because you don't like that show, even though you would love it.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Chevelle Dixon writes and says, just want to say 3 things. 1, congrats to Wade and his wife on their new baby. Thank you. And Wade, I'm sure you'll make a great father and your wife a great mother. Oh, don't be so sure. we tend, when people give us plants, they're dead within 10 days. So we're already ahead of the curve. 2, sorry about Box Office Magazine, and now that Mark is out of a job. At least Mark can now focus all his attention on cooking. 3, Pete Hammond gets blurbed on everything. How is it almost every week when you talk about a new release with a blurb, it's almost always Hammond? Nothing wrong with that, just an interesting observation. Here's why. Because a lot of critics out there solicit blurbs, and there are a few places online where you can you just do blurb whore, and you'll come up with some very interesting annual lists of the most shameless critics who go out and solicit this stuff. And it kind of works into the marketing feed of the studios, where if they know there's a critic who wants to be blurbed, they can call them up and go, oh, can you give us a quote? Because it'll be in the ad. And there's this understanding. It's like, oh, yeah, here, you just say Pete Hammond, who writes for, Shmo Mo Momo, best movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And the studios will put it in the ad, and there it goes. And it's really utterly and completely shameless. But there is this understanding, and there is rumor. There have been rumors in the past that certain critics took kickbacks, i.e. payola, in order to do this. So, and then we also have an email from Kyle Stevens. Very interesting. Says, I honestly think 1989's original Bloodsport starring Jean-Claude Van Damme is the greatest movie ever made. When I was a kid, 10 or 11 years old, I was obsessed with that movie along with the original Kickboxer, also starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Tremors starring Kevin Bacon. I rented those videos every weekend in rotation. Van Damme was my hero and idol. I have no idea why I felt the urge to write this email, but I was thinking about it and wanted to tell you guys whatever happened to Cannon Pictures, the makers of Kickboxer and Bloodsport. Cannon sort of disintegrated after they tried to make more serious movies. That was Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus. It's a rather long and convoluted story about how they went bankrupt in the early 90s. But if you go onto Wikipedia and look for the Cannon Group with 2 N's, Cannon, the whole story is there, and it is absolutely fascinating. And the Wikipedia page, Wikipedia can be inaccurate and sometimes skewed by the people whose interests are best served by it. This one is really spot on accurate, very, very well done. As for Bloodsport, I love Bloodsport as well. I don't know Mark's feelings. But Frank Dukes, whose real story in Bloodsport is very interesting. He and I once dated the same woman. True story. I won't go into any details. But the reality of Frank Dukes right now is actually somewhat sad, and it's not terribly public, but he has had health problems, and I honor him, and I recommend anyone else honor him by watching Bloodsport, because it's even though a lot of people challenge the truth in Bloodsport, it's still a great movie. And I don't care if there was a kumite or if it was exactly the way it's depicted in the movie. I love it.
So what? Come on. Who cares if it really happened or didn't happen? It's a movie.
I know.
Stop thinking that things that happened in real life should be blah, blah.
I know. And that's it for listener mail. We're good.
Listener mail. Ooh, that could be the new theme song.
What? Listener
mail. How come someone doesn't send us one? You know what? Send us at gods@digigods.com the listener mail theme song. It should be less than 5 seconds. Less than 5 seconds.
And something that Mark can sing.
No. No. It would be something we roll into the show.
Something we actually drop in.
Yeah, we drop it in the show.
Then we'd be like a professional show.
That's right. And you know what? I take that back. Don't send it in. We cannot be a professional show. No, send it in. Gods@digigods.com. Less than 5 seconds. Listener mail theme song.
All right.
I'm putting it out there.
Very good.
The best one we will use.
All right, time to get into movies. You know, like old movies and new movies. Not a lot of new stuff. All the big guns came out last week. A few things that are trickling in for next week, but we mostly classic stuff. And actually, there's a few interesting little things I'm going to talk about here in a second. But Mark, get us rolling on this long-awaited.
Well, you know, there have been a million, trillion, quadrillion versions of the Terminator and Terminator 2 on Blu-ray. Ironically, not many versions of Terminator 3 or Terminator Salvation, since no one likes those. But now we finally have, in a one big, beautiful box Blu-ray set, Terminator Anthology. And I realize, as I'm looking at this, that it's a whole lot of work for a quadrilogy that really only resulted in 2 good films.
You know, I don't dislike the last 2. I don't.
Really?
I don't really. I like them. I think it all kind of fits together. But
do you want to really revisit them? I can't wait. Like Terminator, which by the way was remastered. There is a single disc, brand new version of Terminator, which I have, the original Terminator, that finally looks decent.
Yes.
So that you can get.
Yes.
And that's on this collection. Terminator 2 has come out 1,000 different times, and
so many different cuts of that.
Right.
Cameron couldn't make his mind up. He really couldn't. And if you have any, I mean, if you really care, and you have those DVD releases, they're never coming out on Blu-ray, by the way, those other cuts. I mean, he had like 2 different director's cuts before he finally came out with his definitive director's cut, and they're all different by between 2 and 4 minutes. And if you have any of those, one of which came in kind of a swanky aluminum slipcover, hang on to them, because I'm sure they'll be worth something someday.
It is funny because the Terminator is a great example of creative, low-budget filmmaking, whereas Terminator 2 is a great example of creative, big-budget filmmaking.
Yeah, true. Very true.
And then 3 and 4, I guess I enjoyed some of them, but I just think that you're spending a lot of money on the anthology for 4 films, 2 of which you'll revisit, 2 of which you won't, that you probably own anyway. So what can I tell you? I mean, there's a 5th disc here with a bunch of stuff on it. That's always kind of nice. But ultimately, come on. I just think I'm hoping that this is the final word on Terminator Blu-rays. Because when it comes to the next film, that's still up in the air. So this is all we got. So if you already own the 4 previous films already, you don't really need this. Although I will say that there was a brand new, updated Terminator Blu-ray that came out a couple weeks ago that does have a good new transfer. Make that one happen. I don't know that you need all this.
Now I'm going to make some interesting comments on some gun movies. Thanks for taking more calls, Mark, while the show's
I'm not answering them.
This is what I find really interesting is there's a whole kind of advertising motif that becomes epidemic sometimes. And I'm going to show you some interesting things. Now, the 2 movies I'm going to talk about, well, there's 4 movies I'm going to make mention of before I get into something much more interesting. Easy Money, which is a Swedish crime thriller about a guy, who should know better, gets lured into crime. And then this movie Standoff, which is a heist gone wrong movie set in Ireland with Colm Meaney. And they shoehorn Brendan Fraser in there as an American hostage for absolutely no reason whatsoever other than to just say because Brendan Fraser needs a job, I guess. But look at the cover of both of these. I mean, isn't this fascinating? Isn't that interesting?
Well, no. Look,
it's like almost the same thing.
There are so many movies whose one sheet or cover art has like the really macho side glancing dude holding the gun.
But that's it. The side glancing dude holding the gun. And one, it's Brendan Fraser with Colm Meaney behind him. And then in the other one, it's this Joel Kinnaman who's on The Killing.
Now, by the way, you realize who Joel Kinnaman is? Joel Kinnaman is starring in the lead of the remake of RoboCop.
Oh, is he really?
Yes.
That guy is playing RoboCop?
That is correct.
He's stepping into the Peter Weller shoes?
That is correct.
Screw him.
That is correct.
Oh, that sucks.
And by the way, now I've heard nothing recently, but Wade, try to hold your laughter when I say this. But supposedly the remake is in a bit of trouble.
Well, I'm sure it is.
Not very good. Reshoots.
Here's my other example of this. We have two more movies, which are both just cheesy straight-to-video action movies with people whose careers pretty much have been relegated to this. One is with David Morse and Martin Donovan. It's called Collaborator. And the other one is Danny Glover and Michael Madsen. Sins. Look at those covers.
Same thing.
Same thing, right? It's like the guy with the gun, and then a big slash in the middle with the title of the movie, and then another guy below them.
Yes. Big head on top, big head on bottom, name
big
of movie
slash
in the middle.
It's fascinating, isn't it, when you see this?
But it's all just straight. It's all straight to video, straight to DVD, AFI type stuff.
I know, but it's fascinating to me that they all kind of lean on the same. It's not going to make your box stick out. It's going to make it look like all the other movies that do the same thing.
Well, but but they assume safe is good, which of course is really stupid. And they assume that if you're browsing Blockbuster, which doesn't exist anymore, that you will see like a big explosion and like an intense-looking dude with a gun. You'll go, oh, that looks like fun. That looks like escapist entertainment for a couple of hours.
Good deal. So now, Mark, this is the movie that I want us to talk about for just a second here because you and I had interesting reactions to this. Killing Them Softly.
I do like this film.
I do too. And it's out on Blu-ray and DVD. Really spectacular looking on Blu-ray, I got to say. I am a big fan of Andrew Dominic, who directed it, who previously did...
Assassination of Jesse James by Camera Report?
Yep. And Andrew Dominic, his actually, the Australian film...
Not the Proposition. That's the other guy.
No, it's the one with the
hang on,
Chopper.
Chopper. That's it.
Yeah, right. That was his big kind of breakthrough, and then he came and he did Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which was my favorite film of that year. I thought it was outstanding. I think he's an amazing director. I think he's so talented. And this was such a strange kind of minor follow-up to Jesse James. I was like, really? You should be just kind of using, even though that didn't do well, you should be springboarding yourself to like big stuff, like really big Oscar caliber things.
Here's the thing, though. For a guy like that, what is big stuff? He's not gonna direct Transformers 4.
No.
He's not gonna direct like a nice little indie romance.
No.
This is sort of what he does.
I guess.
I don't know what the upside in terms of big studio films, what the upside is for him. Which, by the way, doesn't mean he'll have a bad career. He's a great director. He'll have a terrific career. But in terms of like what we now equate big directing careers to be, which is that you start small and you direct big budget sequels.
True.
I don't know that that's where he's going to go.
Well, really, I'm going to say the Blu-ray is spectacular. This is an Anchor Bay release. This is a Weinstein Company theatrical release, Anchor Bay on Blu-ray and DVD. And beautifully shot by Greg Fraser, who is an Australian cinematographer who did not only just do our friend Matt's film, Let Me In, but he also did...
Star Wars.
No. He did Zero Dark 30. Which he should have been a close contender for an Oscar for that, because that's a hell of a movie. Just a hell of a well shot movie. Talked about that last week. Greg Fraser, great DP, and his work here is so cool, and it's so different. Really, Zero Dark 30 is all handheld and kind of sort of very urgent, and this is very precise. Dominic likes those locked off shots. They're really well composed. Some of them really long shots, long takes. And it's a really good looking movie, and it looks fantastic on Blu-ray. It's really first rate. The movie itself is just all kind of crime politics, and it's really interesting that way because it's very static. It's a lot of people talking about doing a lot of things, and when they finally do those things, they totally go wrong. And then the rest of the movie is a lot of people talking about how we're going to fix the things that went wrong.
Well, there's a very strong parallel between what's going on in the film and the subtext, which is what's going on in this country.
Yes.
Regarding the finances and the government and the falling apart of our financial system.
Which a lot of which transpires in the background, not quite so subtly on television.
That's right.
So
the movie is not really about what it's telling you it's about. It's actually kind of about something else. Yeah. And those are always interesting films to watch. I
thought it was really... But a lot of people just did not like this movie. They just felt it was odd and misbegotten and stillborn. And I think they're kind of missing the point. I mean, those scenes where Brad Pitt and Richard Jenkins are sitting in the car talking about how we're going to handle the situation, those are hysterical scenes. If you feel like you should be laughing at those movies and you feel inappropriate, it's okay, laugh. Because it's funny where they're talking about, you can't do this. Well, why can't we do that? Because then we're going to this and this and this and this. And they're breaking the law regardless. But all the things that they have to take into account, these are like real logistical challenges to people who are breaking the law, but they have this other code they have to respect. It's fascinating to me. I thought those scenes were so well written and delivered.
I agree. And it's also about, a lot of those scenes are about outsourcing.
Yeah.
Because they're deciding they should bring in somebody else to do the killing, or that he should do it himself.
Yes.
So really, it's about business.
Yes.
It's a business.
And James Gandolfini, the worst bit of outsourcing ever. I really think, Sam Shepard, what a great walk-on he does in this.
I don't know whether they shot more with him and it got cut out.
No, I don't think so.
He's in like one shot.
Yeah, one continuous shot as they pan and he walks into the trailer and you hear all hell breaking loose and then he pans to the out and they get thrown. It's great stuff. I mean, really good stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Also I enjoy
Star Wars.
Andrew Dominic. Look, if you're going to do what Robert Rodriguez does, do it like Andrew Dominic does in the billing block on the back. Take a look at that.
Yeah,
isn't that great?
Everybody's name is normal credit bed size, but then bam, Andrew Dominic.
It's like
three times as tall. Although, you know what? Look, if Robert Rodriguez had done that, you would say, God damn, that Robert Rodriguez, that guy's a jerk.
Of course.
But Andrew Dominic does it, and you sign on.
Because I like him.
Exactly.
He's my dude. I dig him, and I want his career to go well. And then, really quickly, the last thing I'm going to make mention of before Mark digs into this, a couple of films that he has a particular passion for.
Yes! Awesome! Because I'm lame.
Is this really interesting Jean-Jacques Annaud film called Day of the Falcon, which this really kind of depresses me a little bit. And Jean-Jacques Annaud, when he goes smaller, like when he does The Lover and when he does Quest for Fire, stuff like that, he's always been very, very interesting. When he goes big and epic, like 7 Years in Tibet, he gets sometimes a little too big for his britches, a little too melodramatic, and that's a part of the problem here. But at the same time, this is a big movie that should have had some kind of theatrical release promise. And you could think of this really as kind of like the Hatfields and the McCoys of Middle Eastern oil families. A really kind of a cool period piece about the some of the politics behind today's Middle Eastern oil empires. And it's a little bit melodramatic, and certainly not the film that it should be. But at the same time, I mean, what a cast! It's got Antonio Banderas, Frida Pinto, Mark Strong, high-powered European director like Jean-Jacques Annaud. It's very competently made. A decent screenplay by Menno Megis, based on the novel The Great Thirst. I mean, Menno Megis wrote The Color Purple. I mean, the pedigree here should be marketable, so I don't know why nobody bothered to even give this film a shot in theaters. I mean, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes long. It's not overly long for an epic like this. It just should have had its shot. It should have been, somebody should have picked this movie up and put it into theaters, and they didn't, and I think that's a real disappointment. But anyway, it's on Blu-ray. If you have a big TV, you'll certainly get the most out of it. A smaller TV won't quite give you the impact, but and there's a 40-minute documentary on it that's quite good, actually, the making of Day of the Falcon, and then a bit on storyboards and the effects. But otherwise, a movie that I think deserved better, and I'm very sad that it didn't get better. So try to give it a boost, at least rent it.
Wade, there's a movie.
Yes.
Enough of this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wade, let me tell you something.
What?
1973, Wade.
Oh dear. Does it have Gene Hackman in it?
I love Gene Hackman. It has Yul Brynner and Richard Benjamin.
Okay, I think I know what that was. Yeah.
Westworld. Okay. I loved Westworld when I was a kid. It's the best. So here's the thing, Wade. You know Westworld.
I do know.
Wade, for $1,000 a day, you can go to a theme park called Westworld. There's like gunslingers.
I'm waiting.
It's like living in the Old West. But Wade,
yes,
the gunslingers are robots because it's in the future.
You know that at some point they're going to remake this.
And Wade,
aren't they remaking it?
It goes wrong. Something goes horribly wrong, Wade.
Wasn't there a remake announced of this a couple of years ago?
There's a remake of everything. They finally announced again a new remake of Escape from New York.
I know.
Which would be terrible.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, Westworld was written and directed by Michael Crichton, ladies and gentlemen. Michael
Before
Crichton.
he started making absurd amounts of money for writing silly novels, which got made into movies by other people, and he figured, why am I trying to make movies? I'll just sit down and I'll just go, there are dinosaurs on an island. Here's a book. Pay me millions.
On. Oh, Michael Crichton, come on.
Hey,
Andromeda Strain?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, yeah, he wrote, when he wrote real books, but then he started writing, like, silly stuff. Come on, Jurassic Park is silly stuff.
Well, it's like an airport novel.
It's Westworld with dinosaurs. Come on.
Yeah, things go wrong in a theme park.
Give me a break.
Awesome, because because then they wound up doing another one, which is also on Bluray. But by the way,
these are from different companies.
Yes. Well, Futureworld.
I wonder if they coordinated this.
Could be Futureworld, which is the 1975 sequel, is out from the good folks at Shout Factory, whereas Westworld is out from Warner Brothers.
They must have coordinated.
I have no idea. All I know is that Futureworld... Actually, Futureworld took a lot of crap when it came out because it was just, another stupid sequel. But it's really kind of not that bad. It's got a weird cast. It's got Peter Fonda, Blythe Danner. Yes.
My recollection is that I liked Futureworld. Let me see these.
Really?
That I liked Futureworld a lot better, yeah.
Westworld, come on, gunslingers, gunslinging robots goes bad.
I actually had an idea for a third film that would have made a trilogy, but it didn't fly. It was called World, where you go into this theme park where everything is exactly like what you just came away from.
It was actually called Sequel World.
Literally, you walk into your own home, and it's just like the home that you live in the same place, and the same people, and there are these parents. Your parents play your parents. It's called World. They didn't like it. They didn't go for it. I thought it was a great pitch. Anyway,
I like Westworld.
You know
and
what?
I like Futureworld less.
I honestly had no. You would think that I would have known this of all people, and the good grief. Look at this. Did you know that Sam Arkoff produced Futureworld? I had no idea.
Sounds like something he'd do.
Sam is executive producer on this, but not on. Oh, look at that! But not on Westworld. But you know who did produce these films? That is hysterical. That is great. They even misspell his name on Westworld. Oh my goodness, they misspelled it in the credit block, the credit bit. It's producer Paul N. Lazarus III. They call him Pal N. Lazarus. They left the U out of his name on the credit bit for Westworld. But he's Paul Lazarus on Futureworld. So
Pal Lazarus.
no, do you know who that is? You know who that is, don't you?
Ah, it's Mr. and Mrs. Lazarus.
No, he also produced
World.
No, he also produced the friggin' Mars thing.
Spit it out.
You know, Mars. It's all a hoax.
Oh, War of the World.
War of the World. No, Mars. The O.J. Simpson.
Capricorn 1.
Capricorn 1.
Yeah, Capricorn 1 rules.
Sleep deprivation, baby sleep deprivation, brain no recall. That's what's going on.
Capricorn 1.
No, but do you know who Paul Lazarus was and is? Was
Mr. and Mrs. Lazarus's kid?
Try again. You've listened to me on Film Week, right?
No.
You never listened to me on Film Week?
I see you every week.
Okay. Well, every once in a while when Larry Mantle can't host on Film Week, David Lazarus from the LA Times stands in. David
really?
Lazarus, I've guested on another movie show that he does in San Francisco on a radio station up there, and he's the LA Times financial columnist, right? He's like a consumer columnist, consumer affairs and stuff. But he's a big movie fan because Paul Lazarus' dad.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not know.
He used to joke all the time. He goes, yeah, my college was paid for by Capricorn 1. That movie put him through college. That's brilliant. I had no idea that David's dad was producer of these as well. I knew Capricorn 1, but Westworld and Futureworld, look at that.
Now, what you didn't know is that, and we'll probably never see on DVD or Blu-ray or anything else, is that there was a TV show based on Westworld. Beyond Westworld.
I vaguely have a recollection.
Well, I think it was canceled after only like a couple episodes. But anyway, here's the thing. Westworld and less Futureworld, two good 70s sci-fi movies. They're pretty cool.
Totally.
Very cheesy. It has those scores that go like, wow, wow. That's like the score. But it's still cool.
Yeah, totally cool. All right, we need to go through. Gosh, let's see. We got a ton of stuff. Let me blow through some of this.
Is the show almost over, Wade?
Yeah, we got like 15 minutes left. So let me blow through a bunch of things really quickly here because we've got a lot of great library titles.
You want me to talk about these?
No. We're going to split these in a second. You got
to be kidding me.
What? No, the classical stuff I already watched almost all of.
Okay.
So I can talk about all that classical stuff. Yeah, we can. But more importantly, I want to blow through some of these. There's a lot of catalog titles on Blu-ray and a few Warner Archive titles that are worth mentioning. I don't want to get too much into it because everyone knows what these movies are and the quality issues are sort of boilerplate. But a bunch of Miramax titles that have now been released from Echo Bridge. These are all catalog titles. Remember, Miramax is contracted to just blow out all their catalog stuff, mostly through Echo Bridge. And we've got the shipping news, a movie which I thoroughly hate. Now, Lasse Hallström was the Miramax guy for a moment. He was doing Chocolat and a whole bunch of other things, and Cider House Rules. And this was another one of his little pet projects for Harvey. It was a big deal book, and they got Kevin Spacey and Julianne Moore and Judi Dench and Cate Blanchett and shipping news, and everyone loved the book and Lasse Hallström, and somehow this whole thing just became this just lugubrious, sloppy, nonsensical, self-important epic about nothing. And boy, is this movie a misfire! But it's on Blu-ray for those who have a real passion for it. And apparently, somebody did at the Detroit News. They gave it 4 stars. Another one of those Miramax from that roughly from that same-ish period, a little bit earlier, is Marvin's Room. young Leonardo DiCaprio, still showing how amazing he could be when he's on screen with Meryl Streep and Diane Keaton and Robert De Niro. Look, I can hold my own with all of them. And, of course, re-teaming with Robert De Niro in a movie for the first time since This Boy's Life. What was it? This Boy's Life. This Boy's Life.
Was that the De Niro film?
Yeah, that was his debut.
Yeah.
Yep, with De Niro as the psychotic stepfather. You know what? DiCaprio's not bad in Marvin's Room, but, I don't know. The movie's otherwise not that spectacular. It doesn't impress the hell out of me on any great level. Is it Jerry Zaks directed it? I don't even know who Jerry Zaks is. Music of the Heart, I actually kind of like. And you know what was weird about Music of the Heart? It's another Meryl Streep film. This was directed by Wes Craven. It's not a horror film.
That's bizarre.
It's like this inspirational movie about, educating kids in the inner city and music, and how music, and music programs enable you to, thrive and find your inner self. It's all inspirational and like Stand By Me. And
I don't like Meryl Streep when she's too happy. I like Meryl Streep being like
Wes
depressed
Craven.
and
Wait, Wes Craven.
That is weird.
Angela Bassett's in this, and Gloria Estefan actually can kind of act. Playing by Heart is a movie. This is the last of the Miramax Echo Bridge titles here. Did you ever see Playing by Heart?
Indeed, I did.
Jon Stewart, when no one knew who he was as an actor. Now he's going to direct a movie.
Now, yes, which is just bizarre.
It's kind of weird, right? Playing by Heart is an awesome movie, and I'm kind of amazed that it never took off more than it did. I can't describe what it's about. It's a series of intertwined stories. Angelina Jolie is also in it. Sean Connery. I mean, huge cast: Jenna Rollins, Dennis Quaid, Ryan Felipe, Ellen Burstyn.
What happened to Ryan Felipe, by the way? What happened to that guy?
That
guy started an Oscar-winning Best Picture, and now he's gone.
You know what? He uses a pseudonym.
Ryan Gosling?
No, he uses a pseudonym whenever he buys burgers at Carney's. I've told that story on the show before. He was in front of me at Carney's.
Yes,
and he gives them his order, and they go, "Here you go, Steve." I'm like, really? Because if you say Ryan, they're going to go, "Oh, as in Ryan Felipe?" Come on, just say Ryan. You're not that famous. Jeez, dude. Anyway, Carney's, great burgers, right?
Yeah, they do.
Great turkey burgers. Fattening. Love those turkey burgers. The turkey burgers are lean, super lean.
Yeah, but it's
really
all,
lean.
But it's all in oil and butter and bread and cheese.
That's so good.
Horrible. Anyway,
Playing by Heart. A fascinating film. The way these stories wind together, I think it's a really smart script. And I'm just shocked that it didn't sort of get more attention at the time.
Well, you know what it is? Because there's one story about this kid dying of AIDS, and there's another story about this family approaching this couple approaching their 40th wedding anniversary.
The way it all kind of comes together is really smart, very well written, and it's brisk for a movie that's just barely over 2 hours long, and fantastic photography for a character film, by the way, by Vilmos Zsigmond, who hasn't shot anything in ages. A bunch of Warner Archive stuff. Let's get through this real quickly here. We've got Dennis Morgan and Jane Wyman in Cheyenne. From Warner's. When was the last time you saw it referred to as Warner's as opposed to Warner Bros?
I love that.
See, that's Warner's.
The thing is that they were always the Warner Brothers.
Yes,
they were never not.
Yeah, but you know the story of that, right? It's not like the Warner Brothers were ever really involved with Warner Brothers beyond like 1933 or whatever. Jack Warner screwed his brothers over.
I know. Well, Jack Warner didn't Jack Warner say he was not going to sell the company? They wound up selling the company.
No. Here's what it was. Jack Warner. This is one of the great all-time stories. Jack Warner, who my father knew, and he was an SOB. Jack Warner said, "You know what we should do? We should he got all his brothers together, and he said we should just put all our stock out on the open market and just make just ridiculous amounts of money because people will buy our stock at like a exponential. We got all our stock in the company. Let's just put it out there." So he convinced his brothers to basically put up for sale their stock in Warner Brothers. Guess what he did?
He sold the company.
He turned around and bought his brother's shares.
Oh, he bought his brother's shares.
Yeah, he bought his brother's shares secretly. So he had like proxies who went out and bought the shares that his brothers were putting. He never put his shares up. He said, "Let's all put our shares up," and then he didn't put his up. They put theirs up, and then he bought it out, and then he basically stole the company from his brothers. He conned them into selling the company to him at like a very small price. Oh. It's a notorious story. So anyway, that's a Raoul Walsh Western, if you have any interest in Cheyenne, with Dennis Morgan, who no one remembers anymore, and Jane Wyman, who, of course, is famous now for having divorced Ronald Reagan because she didn't think he was going to become anything. John Ford did a movie called The Rising of the Moon, which they have a poll quote on here from the original marketing materials. unforgettably John Ford's finest film. Really? Because nobody remembers The Rising of the Moon anymore. But it's fine. It's it's another one of those Ireland movies. It's not at all like The Quiet Man, but it's perfectly fine. And John Ford made a lot of forgettable movies, and I wouldn't call this forgettable, but it's not brilliant. The Monogram Cowboy Collection, Volume 5, is a whole bunch of movies with Johnny Mac Brown, who was one of those guys that did those programmers back in the day. These are 9 movies on 3 discs for people who just can't get enough like cheesy westerns that are sort of all about the same thing. You got rustlers and cowboys and bad men and all, the usual deal, and guys left over from the Civil War who are making trouble. And it's all very, very, it's more nostalgia than anything else. George Sidney, another one of those workman-like studio directors, made a movie called Key to the City, a romance with Clark Gable and Loretta Young, which is, again, also perfectly fine. It's just another programmer from the era. It's perfectly serviceable. Much better is the Clark Gable Marion Davies movie, Polly of the Circus. I am always fascinated by Marion Davies movies, just because Marion Davies was who she was, and anytime I watch Citizen Kane, I always think about Marion Davies.
As well you should.
Well, the William Hearst and all that stuff. She's just a sad life, that lady. But I find her fascinating on the screen. And I think she has amazing chemistry with Clark Gable. And it's just, the fact that this has so many other historical tentacles go into all these interesting directions. What was going on behind the scenes with the studios and with Marion Davies and with Clark Gable. It's fascinating. So I think historically it's a really interesting movie, especially if you do the research and kind of look a little bit into who was doing what with whom. Clark Gable also made a romance with Gene Tierney called Never Let Me Go. Never, directed by Delmer Daves.
Delmer Daves directed the original 3:10 to Yuma.
That's right. He was another one of those studio hacks who just, he just knew how to make them. Wasn't brilliant, but he was just very workmanlike. He was just very, very efficient. And this is based on a novel called Came the Dawn by Roger Bax, which was a big deal at the time as well. Gene Tierney, much better than Clark Gable in this, but it's a romance from the era. Lots of swooning music and And then The Falcon is a mystery movie collection. This is the second mystery movie collection. And there are 6 films here featuring the character of the Falcon. The Falcon Out West, The Falcon in Mexico, The Falcon in Hollywood, The Falcon in San Francisco, The Falcon's Alibi, and The Falcon's Adventure. Tom Conway played the Falcon. And this was an RKO series that is completely forgotten now. But, this guy, Tom Conway, not bad. Pretty interesting. Not they could resurrect this. They really could. They could get somebody like... They could get like a James Franco.
I'm tired of James Franco. Go away.
I am too. That was a joke.
Although, did you hear that interview we did on Howard Stern?
No.
It was awesome. Nobody gets it out of a celebrity like Howard Stern.
Really?
Yeah. Just talk. He got Franco to talk about Anne Hathaway and the Oscars and why people hate Anne Hathaway.
Very nice.
And how there was a point where Franco actually could have slept with Lindsay Lohan, but he turned her down.
No. Kidding.
Oh yeah, this is a few years ago.
And before we get into the music stuff, to just kind of wrap things up, Richard Bartholomew in The Dawn Patrol, also starring Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and Neil Hamilton. This is really an interesting little chunk of movie history. First National Pictures made the film, and their library has since fallen into the hands of Warner Brothers, hence the reason why this is a Warner Archives release, and you have to go to warnerarchive.com, Warner Archive singular. This is a Howard Hawks film that takes place during World War I, and it's not your typical World War I movie. It's actually surprisingly anti-war and anti-violent for a Howard Hawks movie, especially a Howard Hawks movie made in 1930, just as war is about to break loose all over again. It's an early talkie, and it's actually pretty damn well done. I mean, it's got some amazing aerial photography, not as amazing as Wings. But it's based on a story by the same guy who wrote Wings, so there are some similarities. But by and large, I think it's definitely worth checking out. And the fact that Douglas Fairbanks Jr. is in it, not Douglas Fairbanks Sr., but Douglas Fairbanks Jr., who looks a lot like his dad, he just doesn't have the athletic prowess, makes it also very, very interesting. All right, Mark, let's let's dig into some of this music poop here, and just to terminate things here. That's more. Yeah, that's more your speed. There you go.
Oh, Wade, you just love Beethoven.
I do.
Do you really? Who's your favorite classical composer?
My favorite classical composer?
Yes.
You know, that's a good question. And I constantly come back to Beethoven, even though I am very, very partial to Edvard Grieg and Sergei Rachmaninoff. But I keep coming back to Beethoven because he was just such a tragic madman, and you know, there's just so much drama. Like when I listen to Beethoven, I can listen to there's a lot of classical I love, a lot of classical I don't care so much for. But when I listen to Beethoven, I feel the personality of the man. I feel his emotions, and I don't get that with a lot of other composers. And
you don't even say Mozart because you love Amadeus so much.
I can't stand Amadeus. I really can't.
Really?
I respect the movie, but I just Tom
Why
Hulce.
did you like that movie?
You know what? There are things about it that I like, but I just hate Tom Hulce's performance. I hate it so much. I just hate it so much. He's so wrong in that movie. Never should have been there.
Really, Tom Hulce?
No, Tom Hulce ruins the movie for
Well, you
me.
know why? Because you remember him from Animal House.
Yeah, but also he's the only American in that. Well, F. Murray Abraham's American, but he's the only guy in the cast who's not sort of playing style. You know, he's not making any attempt to sort of be. He's just playing like a goofball. Mozart wasn't like that. Mozart wasn't some like giggling, farting, goofball, maniac, crazy sex nerd. He wasn't. He was a genius.
Exactly. Speaking of geniuses, Miles Davis is on Blu-ray this week. Miles Davis with Quincy Jones and the Gil Evans Orchestra. This is part of the Live at Montreux collection. This is in 1991, actually only a few months before Miles Davis died. So this is definitely one for history. It's also in color, which I like, as Miles obviously, he died in 91, and, there's not a lot of color performances from him. So this is good stuff. Blues for Pablo, Miles Ahead, The Duke, Panpiper, Summertime is great. Here Come the Honeyman is a good one. This is all great stuff live at Montreux. The Montreux Jazz Festival Blu-ray series has just given us some great music, and this is kind of one of the best because we love Miles Davis.
I like Miles.
Because he
like him a lot.
He was a cokehead. Anyway, go.
Was he really?
Well, he was an everything head.
All right.
Miles Davis?
A lot of great classical stuff on Blu-ray coming to us from Naxos, and Naxos is kind of a clearinghouse for a lot of other classical Blu-ray and DVD libraries. A lot of this stuff is opera. And I'll just kind of go through it real quickly. Turandot, which is the amazing Puccini opera. This is a fantastic staging of it from Opera Australia. Really, really just amazing design. And I've seen a lot of great versions of this, including the one directed by Zhang Yimou. You know, he did a version. And this is just great. The Australians have just such a it's both avant-garde and classical at the same time, and I don't know how they do that, but that's really just terrific. And then Rossini's Adelaide de Borgogne, which I'm trying not to mutilate. This is from Art House Music. This is from the Rossini Opera Festival, and it's great. It's great. This is, of course, done in Italy at the Teatro Comunale di Bologna. This is the orchestra and chorus from Bologna. And I never knew that Bologna was, I guess you go to a town of 20 people in Italy, and they can put on world-class opera. I mean, I know Bologna is like a major city, but it's not like, Rome or Milan or Venice, right? It's Bologna. But man, they really nail this, and I was not familiar with this. So this is, Rossini, always good for a laugh. Bruckner is kind of like the wannabe Beethoven, somewhere between Mahler and Beethoven. A lot of people love Bruckner. These are the mature symphonies, directed by Barenboim and the Staatskapelle Berlin. This is also on Blu-ray. And this is Bruckner's Symphony No. 4 in E-flat major, the Romantic, which means it's romantic and loud and bombastic like everything else that Bruckner did. I'm not a huge Bruckner fan, but I know a lot of people are.
E-flat major is my favorite key, Wade.
Of
you
course.
Want to know why?
Yes.
Because E-flat major has
don't mock
B
my
flat,
name.
E-flat, and A-flat. So there's 3 flats in E-flat major.
Don't be mocking my name.
And there you go.
Yeah, a couple from Verdi. Verdi's Macbeth, which really compares quite favorably to Shakespeare's Macbeth. It's an interesting comparison between the two. Verdi's Macbeth and Verdi's Il Masnadieri. Il Masnadieri, Kaiser.
Gesundheit.
These are both part of the 200th anniversary of Verdi celebration, part of the Tutto Verdi Complete Operas collection, and just wonderful stuff. Really, really good. The Macbeth is performed by the Orchestro e Coro del Teatro Regio di Parma. In other words, the house band at Parma. And the Il Masnadiere is from the Orchestro e Coro del Teatro de San Carlo, from San Carlo. I don't even know where San Carlo is. Like I said, probably 20 people in a village somewhere, and they're putting on world-class opera. That's how it goes. Both of these, really, really good. Don't quite understand the stories in Il Masnadiere. Macbeth, obviously, I don't even have to read the titles. I know what's going on. But Il Masnadiere, I don't even know what's going on, and still loved it. And then really quickly wrap things out, Beethoven Symphonies on 3 DVDs by Michael Gielen. Anytime you can get Beethoven Symphonies all together on DVDs, on CD, on Blu-ray, it's always a total treat. And it seems like every world-class artist who does these symphonies does them in a slightly different way, and they're always amazing, and they're always wonderful. And then, let's see, lastly, we've got... let's see. You know what? We'll wrap up with this one. Simon Rattle does the. This is a very strange. I mentioned Mahler earlier as a in that class with Bruckner and Beethoven of guys who are a little bit bombastic. This is Rachmaninoff and Mahler together. The Symphonic Dances, Opus 45 by Rachmaninoff, and then the Symphony No. 1, the Titan in D major by Mahler, which is just Titan is almost an understatement.
D major is my favorite. You know why? Because D major has F sharp and C sharp.
Thank you. Well, Simon Rattle directs this or conducts this for the Berlin Philharmonic in 3D. This was done in Singapore, and I got to tell you, I don't get it. I don't understand why 3D. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But there it is. So it's 3D orchestra. I just don't understand the point of it. But clearly, that somebody thought we'd try this 3D thing at home and we'd try it on a classical title and see if it has any appeal. But I have a feeling that the people who buy classical titles really just don't give a damn. So anyway, there we go. All right, Mark, we are done. We're done. We're done. So we'll wrap it up there and come on back next week. There are some very interesting things in the works as far as home video news, technology, and stuff. Yeah, I'm monitoring a few of those things. So we'll. And
there's Lincoln next week.
Yes, Lincoln next week. We're going to talk about Lincoln next week. All right, folks. See you next week.